Good morning, Village Church family. I'm so glad to be with you this Sabbath. I have a special friend that I just made today that I'd like to introduce to you. Some of you may know her already. This is Gem Fitch sitting next to me, and I'm going to ask her a few questions, and then we're going to learn about a beautiful hymn that she wrote that is in our hymnal. Gem, what's your connection with Village Church?
From 1972 to 82, I was the organist.
Ah, I know the organist of Village Church right now too.
Yes.
She's somebody that is a good friend of mine.
Yes, by the same name, I understand.
Yes. Your love of hymns caused you to create a new hymn. And it's about a topic that we don't have a lot of hymns on. Some of them are well known. It's about the Sabbath. And we know Safely Through Another Week. We know O Day of Rest and Gladness. But yours had such a beautiful title, Crowning Jewel of Creation. Could you tell us how you wrote the poetry for that hymn?
It was when Bud Roberts was the pastor. He had had a sermon before when the terrible disaster of the Davenport financial disaster occurred. And he had a marvelous sermon. And I listened to that sermon as well as being there when he was giving it. I listened to it on the afternoon broadcast on KGTS, and I recorded it, and I listened to it at least one or two more times. So I heard that, and it was such a powerful sermon to me that I wrote a hymn. And it was done to the tune of Kumranda.
Mm-hmm. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah.
Yes, right. And it was God the Father. Oh, I can't remember all the words right now. But anyhow, talking about the Godhead. And I really was impressed. So I sent that tune, the words, into a competition from the Adventist musicians. And it was chosen as one of the top 10 hymns. Mm. So I was very pleased, and I told Bud this. I said that really was something that I felt just inspired to write. And I asked him if he had any topics that he was going to come up with for preaching in the near future. And he told me he was thinking of the Sabbath. And I said, that's great. I will write a hymn, and we will sing it for the end of the service. So the village people sang it. They sang it to the tune, Once in Royal David City.
And I'd like to ask you why you chose that tune for your words.
It just seemed to fit. Now you know that at the back of the hymnal we have the meters that can be changed with whatever words. Mm-hmm. You can adjust them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have a very wonderful text, but you don't have a tune that people know.
That's right.
So you don't fail if you find one that people love, and that's why I chose them.
And I think when you do that, the words become much more meaningful and more easy to be grasped by the congregation as they're singing.
Definitely.
As I look at number 385 in the hymnal, I notice, however, that it is not the tune of Once in Royal David City. Can you tell me about that?
Yes.
How did it get this tune?
Well, this was at the time that the hymnal search committee was looking for new hymns. And it was 1985, and I sent it in about the last day that it was allowed to be sent in, mm-hmm. to be submitted. My husband's sister told me, send it in. I wouldn't have thought of it otherwise, but I did. I sent it in, and when Wayne Hooper got a hold of the words, it just hit him. He was absolutely smitten with this crowning jewel of creation, as if it was a monarch's crown. And So I never met Wayne until just before he died. And it was at some meeting we went to. And so as soon as my husband went and told him I was there, he was excited and told his wife, "Crowning Jewel is here." So he was he just had to write this. And I say, if he hadn't written that tune, it might not have been in the hymnal.
Interesting.
Because he was in charge of choosing the hymns, and he went to bat for it.
I'd like to read a few of the words from the hymn because the poetry is so beautiful. Crowning jewel of creation, blessed and hallowed, sanctified, time and changes all transcending, shared forever, glorified, blessed Sabbath made for man, gift from the Creator's hand. And this, as you said, was inspired by a sermon that Bud Roberts was going to preach. You did not hear the sermon before you wrote the words.
No, it was definitely inspired.
Mm-hmm. And how did it go across with the congregation?
Well, it really did. It went very well. And the object of the writing was to make sure that people would realize the Sabbath is not just a list of do's and don'ts, but it is a gift to us. And if we don't accept the gift, we are the losers. So there's no legalism in it whatsoever, and that is what I wanted to portray.
And I think you succeeded well. I think the title is so beautiful, The Crowning Jewel of Creation Week. We've been so happy to meet with Gem. She lives in Canada, in Lacombe, Alberta, and I'm up here visiting and just happened to meet her this Sabbath, and I thought that my friends at Village Church would be interested in knowing about this hymn that had its roots right at Village Church, and I hope we get to sing it someday. Thank you.